I'll start the meeting. Call to order. Roll call. Barry Johnson, I'm here. Jeff Carter.
Here via Zoom.
Rick Rosner.
Here.
Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
It's here a second ago.
Brandon Marino.
Here.
And Julie Houlihan.
Here.
And Scott Mandel joins us as ex officio. Okay, I'll go on to number 2, approval of June 1st, 2022 Government Affairs Committee meeting minutes. You should have all received those today. If there are no objections, we'll consider it approved. Any objections?
No.
Thank you. Okay, hereby approved. Update by the committee chair. Just wanted to say the one motion that we had last month regarding opposing Councilmember Rahman's motions to get rid of natural gas vehicles, equipment, and appliances, that did pass by the board and was sent in as a CIS. Number 4, public comments on non-agenda items within the committee's jurisdiction. I see no members of the public, so I'll close public comments. And therefore, we have no responses to public comments for number 5. Moving on to number 6, discussion and possible motion, community impact statement with respect to Council File 22-1100-S6 for a parks. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to go out of order here at a request from one of our committee members for time, and I am going to go to number 8 first. So I'm going out of order. Number 8, discussion and possible motion, community impact statement with respect to Council File 22-002-SS67, a resolution to support Assembly Bill AB 1791, Nazarian, to cap rent increases on corporate-owned rental units, including single-family homes and condos, if they are owned by corporations that own 10 or more rental units and have annual gross receipts of $1 billion or more. And I'm going to read you a proposed motion for this. Stand by. So the motion I have is as follows. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes Council File 22-002-S67, Krikorian, which supports Assembly Bill AB 1791, Nazarian, to cap rent increases on corporate-owned rental units, including single-family homes and condos, if they are owned by corporations that own 10 or more rental units and have receipts of $1 billion or more annually. This motion is also to be submitted as a separate community impact statement, should be singular, not plural, CIS to CF22 correcting the number here, 0002-S67. Do I have a second?
Yes. Yes, but.
Thank you, Richard.
Yes, but.
Richard. And I would open it to public comment, but I see no members of the public, so I will go straight to committee comments. And Richard, go ahead.
A lot of these are currently owned by real estate investment trusts, which are not corporations, other owned by partnerships. Can we make it an or rather than an and between owned by or have $1 billion, you know? A lot of them, it just, the form ownership may not be corporate. It may be something else. Let's cover everybody.
The Assembly bill, though, is specific. It's only for corporate. So, and we're only commenting on the resolution supporting the Assembly bill.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, I thought the Assembly bill died. I'm reading something from CAAnet.org saying it didn't have a single committee hearing in the state assembly. And this is from May 6th of 2022, and this is for AB 1791. Also, the original bill had a $500 excise tax that was struck from the bill, this latest version. Is that something that could be reintroduced into the bill? Or what? Because apparently Nazarian's a big fan of excise taxes. I remember he was going to try that with groceries, sodas, I believe. So, do you have any insight on that?
Correct.
So, is this bill dead, or is it still within the Assembly?
Well, they're still in session until August 31st. So, never say never. But, you know, even if it was dead, I would say we should still get our message across to Krikorian, who brought this motion to support, and copy it to Nazarian so he knows our neighborhood council's feeling on this. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't want to muddy up the record on this, but I will read. If you look at the bill itself, as many of you know, the devil is in the definitions. And the bill defines a covered company as any business organization. So it's not, the bill itself is not limited to corporations. It's any kind of business entity. And I'm trying to find the definition part. I didn't want to say anything during this meeting, but just so it's clear, it says applicable large business means any business entity, however formed, that owns, et cetera, and has gross annual receipts of $1 billion or more. It does not limit that gross receipts to having to be from the city of Los Angeles.
So we're not supporting the resolution altogether.
That's right, we're not.
So it really doesn't matter if it says that and the family that's having a picnic down the street. It doesn't really matter.
I agree.
We're saying no on the whole resolution. So we don't have to get
since there was a question asked, I just wanted to answer it.
Yeah.
For the bill itself.
Does that make sense, Richard?
Yes, I was wondering about government-owned nonprofit housing. Does it fall under a business entity if it's owned by a government,
No,
directly or indirectly?
it's accepted.
So all the government housing is now exempted. Okay.
So I think the motion clearly sends the message to Krikorian that our neighborhood council, should they vote for it, is not in favor of this. And copy to Nazarian, it also shows him same thing. So I don't know that we could, if we need to be any more specific other than just saying no to the whole idea. Anyone?
I agree.
Anyone? Okay. Anyone else?
Well,
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I always feel it's a little awkward not to put reasoning behind it, but I just will go with the group on this one because I think we're all opposed for one reason or another, and I think it's fine.
Okay, and we'll follow where this goes. It may not go anywhere by their August 31st deadline, but it doesn't mean we can't chime in again if they do some sort of variation on it. So anyone else? Okay, I'll call the vote then. All in favor, raise your hands. If you're yes, raise your hand or say yes. I'm saying
Yes.
Scott Mandel, yes.
Brandon, yes.
So I see
Yes.
a unanimous vote.
Jeff Carter,
Thank you,
yes.
everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff. So moving
Well done.
on to number 6, discussion and possible motion, community impact statement with respect to Council File 22-1100-S6 for a Parks and Recreation parcel tax ballot measure for the November 8th, 2022 election. And I will read you a proposed motion that I have. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council opposes Council File 22-1100-S6 from City Attorney Buer, by the way, for a parcel tax ballot measure for parks and recreational facilities. The property taxes that are already paid by citizens and corporations are supposed to cover such facilities. This is yet another ploy to create yet another additional tax on property taxpayers. This motion is also to be submitted as a separate community impact statement, CIS to CF 22-1100-S6. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Thank you, Richard. Seeing no public comment, I'll go on to committee member comments. And Brandon.
Yeah, I'm reading it right here. Apparently, it was voted on the 29th of June, passed, and apparently the mayor's last day to act upon this is July 11th, 2022. So even opposing it, it's just basically getting our word out there that we oppose it, even if the mayor acts upon it, which would be, in 5 days' time, that would be his last day to act upon it, correct?
Correct. And I think here it's a principle for me anyway. I am so dead against parcel taxes. They were created as a result, ultimately, of Proposition 13, because 13 limits property taxes, and parcel taxes, are trying to find a way around it and charging you additional money. So that's where I'm coming from. And I think our board will support this. And I think it's good to, for me on this one, when if it passes, and the list of people that it gets copied to is going to be the entire city council when I turn this in, should it pass, to our corresponding secretary. So go ahead, Julie.
I'm just curious how our state has this huge surplus, but then they want to tax us to fund the Parks and Rec. Is this just a completely separate budget? I just kind of blows my mind that this is even a thing right now.
Yes, because this would be money, it would be a separate parcel tax on your property tax bill, and all of that money would go to the city of Los Angeles, as opposed to it being state money, which has the billions and billions of surplus. So yeah, a smarter thing might be for the city council to ask the state for some money, for this, but that's not the route they're going. Scott?
Thanks, Barry. I agree with what you said about the parcel tax. I mean, they spend their money on everything else, and then they try to get the voters to approve something that, like the gambler at the racetrack on their way home has no money for milk. They spent it all on other stuff. So I'm looking at my property tax bill right now, and we're already assessed LA City Park District, and there's an assessment for, there's a county assessment on Measure A on here. I believe that is the other park assessment for the counties. And then we've got all the other items that are added on, because like you said, on Prop 13, they couldn't go over a certain percentage, so they just tacked on other stuff. And parcel taxes are so unfair because they're levied upon property owners by people who don't own property. And then it still has to get passed around. So there's plenty of fairer ways to raise the revenue. How much are they spending at Beaman Park for that park overhaul? Is that like $17 million or something?
Something like that for the new gymnasium, yeah.
Yeah, wow, okay.
So anybody else on this one? Okay, I guess we can take the vote then. All in favor, raise your hands or say yes.
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 I'm a yes.
Mandel, yes.
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 7. Discussion and possible motion, community impact statement with respect to Council File 22-0560 to update the municipal lobbying ordinance. And I'll read you the proposed motion that I have. And by the way, this was sent to us by Melanie Winter. I give her credit for coming across it. Here's my proposed motion. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports Council File 22-0560 to amend the municipal lobbying ordinance, including the same disclosure when a lobbyist makes an oral presentation or public comment to a neighborhood council, as is presently only required for written communications. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to CF 22-0560. And do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Richard, thank you. Seeing no members of the public, I'll move on to committee comments and Brandon.
You know what? I make fun of Reseda quite a bit. That in Canoga Park. Not a fan of that part of the valley, but I'll tell you something. Their neighborhood council put together a really nice CIS. It's really detailed about what this is all about, and I'm impressed. If you go on to the council file, it's right there. Yeah, this is really interesting about the nonprofit exemption of 200,000 or 500,000 assets instead of the proposed 2 million, which is going to cause a little problem because it would exempt the vast majority of nonprofits in Southern California, $2 million. A lot of them fall underneath, and these nonprofits would be considered lobbying organizations, I assume. So if you're making less than $2 million, you don't have to register. You don't have to say who you are, I guess, if I'm reading it correctly.
And Brandon, I was actually thinking of, and we have done this in the past, we have the actual motion followed by some explanatory information. And I was thinking of even cutting and pasting what Reseda did because it's
they did a great job. Whoever did it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
So I mean, our motion, the motion proper definitely supports everything they wrote. So maybe I will do that with assuming it passes once it goes out, just because I don't know if anybody else saw it in the council file besides Brandon, but it's really well written. So Resita's on top of things, and they're part of CD4 now. The 19-mile CD4 from Silver Lake to Resita. So
The one part of CD4 that didn't want to be a part of CD4 seems to be the best part of CD4, besides us, of course.
Yeah. Anybody else on this one? Okay, seeing no other hands raised, I'll call the vote. All in favor of updating the municipal lobbying ordinance motion, raise your hand, yes or say yes.
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 I'm a yes. Thank you. We're unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to number 9, comments from committee members on subject matter within the committee's jurisdiction. Anybody on number 9? Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, you were present at the Cultural Affairs meeting yesterday regarding city planning and the whole thing about this will probably come up in the ad hoc that but that's not really, that's really for something else. But the conversation about perhaps them skipping a part, suddenly shifting from the golf course being part, an historical, culturally significant part, to not being it. There seems to have been a gap in between where there was no communication, no one's giving a straight answer. I don't think this is cultural affairs. I don't think it's sustainability. It sounds like a government affairs issue because it deals with the government maybe, and I don't know this for certain, maybe not doing their job properly and skipping something to get something passed or something changed. It sounds like it would be right up the wheelhouse of this committee. I don't know what you think about it, but it sounds like something for government affairs. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I would say yes, and I guess we can see if that motion has any legs at the board meeting in 2 weeks, and if it doesn't, we could revisit it at our next meeting. But I will say the Historical Cultural Commission, what they said about the golf course, as far as I know, it's their recommendation to the city council. And the city council has the right to make changes, and that's exactly what they did. Now, I'm curious to see where Terry's lawsuit goes, but I keep thinking it's going to go nowhere because the city council did nothing illegal. So, yeah, and I don't know when her court case is going to come. But maybe we should, like I said, we'll see where it goes at the board meeting, and we could revisit at our next meeting. What do you think?
Yeah, based on what they said, it sounds like there was a polar shift almost overnight. Pardon me, from the golf course and driving range being a part of the nomination to not being a part of it. At least that's what they were saying. I didn't go into a deep dive over this. I don't know as much as Patty or Terry know about it, but from what they were saying, it sounds like allegedly, of course, none of us know this for sure, some phone call was made and it changed like that. Now, that would have to be on record somewhere, I would assume. But again, they were saying that CPRAs were requested, nothing came out. People orally said, don't know what happens, nothing happened, everything's fine. You just said that the city council can change their mind, but you would think if they changed their mind, there would be some kind of written record as to why they changed their mind. And
I
according
agree.
to them, it doesn't seem like there was any written record. It just kind of magically happened. Of course, I'm listening to them speak, and I have not gone into detail as to why it changed. Maybe there is something. I don't know yet. But it just sounds like something that's good for this committee.
Yeah, I think it was a phone call, is my guess, and it happened before the Plum meeting, which means and they said his name last night, I'm forgetting, but the guy in the planning department did it, is the one who made the change. And the question is, on whose orders was he following to make that change? I mean, it could have even been his boss, the director of planning, Vince Bertoni. It's hard to say. But if it was a phone call, we may never know. I don't know.
But the question is, was that proper procedure? I mean, if they didn't follow proper procedure, I'm assuming not following proper procedure doesn't nullify the entire process. It's not a do-over. We're not starting the whole thing over again. Like, you know, in a court case, if you don't follow Richard's going to chime in on this. If you don't follow a certain procedure, there are ramifications for it. I don't think city planning is going to start all over again if they skipped a step, but it's something that might be interesting to look into if they did kind of fudge it a little bit where they shouldn't have.
But remember, anytime the council votes on something, 99.9% of the time, they do what the council member for that area wants. And if Paul said to somebody, make this change, that was totally legal, because in the end, if the other 14 council members didn't want to go along with him, they wouldn't have voted to go with the altered city council vote. So, like I said, I
keep
don't
in mind,
think
Paul
anything
Krikorian's
illegal.
what, chair or co-chair of what, 5 committees? Last time I checked, he's one of the most powerful people at that LA City
Yeah.
Council, and his word has a lot of pull.
Yeah. But that's true for all 15 of them. Generally speaking, the other 14 go along with that member who's representing that particular parcel in their council district, you know, and Paul did it when he still had that in CD2. So if he's the one that did it. So, and Terry says he is. She says she has proof, but she's not saying anything till the lawsuit is heard. Go ahead, Jeff.
Just have a question. Did this mysterious activity take the golf course out of being considered a historic place, or did it put it in to it?
Took it out.
Took it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in other words, they don't have to keep the golf course.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, Richard.
It seems that the whole basis of government and city council is notice and an opportunity to be heard. It seems to me that switch happened without too much notice, or a chance for people to hear or react to it. I didn't see any continuing motion. I didn't see it as, it wasn't on the consent calendar. It just happened. Thank you.
Yep. I was just going to mention one other little thing. You know, we had a POC project proposed on Radford across from the Studio Center entrance, where there's a car repair shop now.
Remy.
Yeah. The owner of the property, a former SCNC president. He's also a former Chamber of Commerce president. And the adjacent apartment building could appeal, and they did, because this would be 70 feet where only 45 feet is allowed. And of course, the planning department already, their recommendation before the hearing ever happened was to deny the appeal. And that's how our planning department works. They already said it's going to be denied, and essentially the only thing the adjacent property owner and tenants could do would be to file a lawsuit, which is too expensive for people like that to do, you know? So our planning department kind of has a monopoly. But the good news is, the very day of the hearing, I had gone out. I was outside in front of the studio posting a couple agendas for our committee. And as I'm there posting, Rafi, the property owner, who knows me, walks across the street to talk to me and says, you know, I feel really bad about this. I don't want to be remembered for being the cause of the only 70-foot tall building, basically, in Studio City. So he said, I want to have dinner with you and Lisa Sarkin, and he picked her just because she was his land use chair, and he knows both of us. So we had an informal meeting, and he basically told us he is not going to build this 70-foot building, even though I believe the planning department steered him in that direction. You know, thank you, planning department. And Lisa had the suggestion to him that he's now going to explore with Michael Klausman, the person who's now running the Radford Studio Center, to build an office building there that would be 45 feet tall, 4 stories, which is the allowed height, because Michael's looking for office space to rent because they don't have enough space on the lot. So we met a week ago Monday, and Rafi was going to get in touch with Michael, but Michael had been on vacation over the July 4th holiday weekend and stuff, so he's probably going to get with him soon. So anyway, it's still a work in progress, and it looks like we're not going to end up with a 70-foot tall building there, thanks to somebody who has a conscience, you know, who used to be on the neighborhood council. So we'll see what happens. But if this actually gets built 45 feet, I am so sending Vince Bertoni, the planning department, and all of his big underlings, an email saying, nah. So, you know, this guy turned around and said no to your suggestion for a 70-foot tall building. I so want to do that because they so encouraged his facilitator to go for this TOC. And Rafi said, in retrospect, he didn't even know what TOC was when they first brought it up, and didn't realize it was 70 feet tall till the process was well into the process of happening. So like I said, it'll be interesting to see, but like I said, we actually have a property owner with a conscience. You know, if they all were like that, we would be happy. So go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, any idea what's gonna happen? Is the pretty department gonna stay there, move, whatever it's gonna be? Does CBS intend to lease the whole thing, or is it gonna be per production company at $7 a square foot or more?
You mean in this building that Rafi
Yes.
might build?
Yes.
I generally speaking, they like to keep production companies that are in and out renting. They like to keep them on the lot because it keeps them closer to their sound stage. And I truly believe Michael would rent space in there for more permanent employees. Like you may notice the CBS graphics department is in one part of the building of Rafi's lot.
Yeah.
And they're a permanent entity. So I don't think it would be the coming and going production company types. I think it would be more permanent employees.
Thank you.
Anybody else for number 9?
Yeah,
go ahead, Scott.
One comment, I guess back to a point Julie made. We need to, at the board meeting, when we go over these and get support to pass these, to bring our good argument about the corporate-owned rental units. So when you introduce the motion, give a little bit of the backstory for some of the board members who may not be informed, because we've already discussed this twice. So for us, the motion makes total sense for them. And also the one from, if you were going to add that extra page from Reseda, of course, you have to take out, they make a lot of references to Reseda in it. But I think it is a good second page if you want to add that. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I can
But
add,
for-
I'll add that before I submit it
For
to
the law.
you, and yeah, change it to Studio City.
Yeah, because it's really, really well done.
Okay. Anybody else? Number 10? All right, I mean, number 9. Number 10, closing comments. All I was going to say, thank you for everyone attending tonight. We got a lot done. We got a lot done fast, which is always nice. And our next meeting will be Wednesday, August 3rd, which is the night after National Night Out. So hopefully we won't all be dead from that, but I think we'll be fine. So I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Richard. So all in favor? Yes, say yes,
Yes.
or raise your
Of
hand.
course.
Yes.
Yes. All right, unanimous. Thanks. Our meeting concludes at 6:36. And see you all hopefully in 2 weeks at the board meeting or on August 3rd for our next committee meeting.
July 11th.
Thank you.
The 11th special meeting too.
Oh yeah, don't forget the Sportsman special meeting on the 11th. Is that a town hall?
No, it's just a regular meeting with a presentation. I'll have the agenda
Okay.
probably tomorrow.
And no, but no motion.
No motion.
Okay.
Will
All right,
you
thank
post
you
it
so
as you normally do, Scott? Sorry.
Yes,
Will you,
That's
will
okay.
you post that?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Bye, you guys. Thank you,
All
Barry.
right.
I-
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Thanks a
Bye.
lot.